Today I'm going to show you how to get free TV, no cable, no satellites, and no monthly bills. You don't need to be technical, and anybody can do this in about 30 minutes. You'll see how easy it is. Cable TV costs a lot of money, $80, $90, $100, probably more than that a month for most people. So how can we get around cable TV? Years ago, my wife lost her job in the financial crisis, and we had to cut costs. Went on a budget, and one of the things we decided to take out was our cable bill. So I went out, got a over-the-air antenna. At the time, high def was then available, and we hooked up two of our TVs to over-the-air high def TV for free. I'm going to show you how we did it, and it's still applicable today. Probably the hardest part of the whole deal was my family had to watch network TV. So again, ABC, NBC, CBS, Fox, all the things you're used to watching. But at 8 o'clock, you couldn't DVR it. You just had to watch the show that was on. And you still have to do that today. So stay tuned and I'll show you how to get your antenna hooked up and tuned to free TV with no cable and no satellite. All right, the first thing we need to do though is we need to go to a website to make sure that you have over-the-air broadcast TV in your area. Again, if you're around major cities, it shouldn't be a problem at all. If you're in a rural area, you may not have the channels that you can tune in reasonably close by. Let's go to a website. So the FCC website actually has a tool on it where you can enter your zip code. So let's head there. This is what the site looks like. And you notice there's a location area for either your zip code or city. Zip code is the easiest. Just hit your zip code and enter it there. The website will churn. It may take a couple minutes or longer to go out there and do the research on the reception strength in your area and for what channels. When it's done, it's going to give you a screen like this, and it's going to show you a green area, yellow, and red. Green are channels that have good signal strength. And if the list looks pretty good in your area, you see ABC, NBC, PBS, you're probably in pretty good shape and should go to the next step to do a test run with an antenna. Now, if you live more than 40 or 50 miles away from the broadcast stations, you may not get the reception that you would expect, and then this won't be a good idea for you. Again, you'll note on the list there that some of the stations are UHF, some are VHF. The reason that matters is you need to make sure you get an antenna that can tune both UHF and VHF. So now we're going to disconnect our antenna, and again, there's a coax that goes into the back of your TV where your cable or satellite typically hooked up. Again, this is for newer TVs. If your TV's old school, you may have some other connections, and you need to get an antenna that works for those connections. But we're going to be dealing with coax because most of the TVs made in the last 20 or 30 years have a coax fitting on it. You simply unscrew it. It's not that hard. It's going to take me a second to do here. So again, little coax fitting. It happens to be here on my TV. On your TV, it could be in various areas, but it's straightforward. You know what a coax looks like. So the next thing is you need to get yourself an antenna. And again, this one's really dusty. I dug this one up from my basement from, again, when I did this several years ago. This is a good old school rabbit ear antenna, right? that connects to the back of the TV, and it's got a coax cable on it to connect back to the fitting that's there. So if you have an antenna, a rabbit ear antenna, this is a good antenna to get to test to make sure that this process works for you. Maybe one of your friends or neighbors has one that you can borrow if you don't have one. So look or ask around. They're really cheap. You can probably pick one up used for a few dollars. But anyways, you need an antenna to connect to the back of your TV. And again, it connects just like your cable came off. Your antenna screws on in that same location. So let's attach our antenna. All right, and make sure you turn it and you get it nice and tight on the back of the TV. I just usually do finger tight and don't use a wrench, but you could if you wanted to. So again, we're going to test with rabbit ears. Now, I should point out that after the test works out, after we get the stations to tune in, which I'm going to show you in the next step here, you may want to consider a different antenna. Again, it's got to be a UHF, VHF antenna. They make flat antennas, and I'll tell you about that one later. But they also make the old school. You used to see the aerials sitting on top of people's houses. I bought a couple of those that were about this big. Quite frankly, I put it behind a cabinet in my dining room. That worked just fine. But I hear people put them up in their attics. The second one I actually mounted to the top of my satellite dish, disconnected the satellite dish coax cable and screwed in that aerial that was on top of my satellite dish, which worked really good for the outside of the house. And then that cable came inside and I connected it to the back of the TV. So I'll show you a picture of the aerial antenna I bought, and this is kind of what they look like. And I'll put a link in the description below to one of those on Amazon, which is where I bought mine. I haven't tried one of the flat antennas. So again, one of those, Mohu is one of the manufacturer. They make several different levels and variations. I can't attest to how well they work, but I've heard they give good results. You can tape them on a window. Again, I'll put a link to the Mohu antennas in the description as well below if you want to consider one of the flat antennas to put on your wall or a window. Let's power up the TV and see if we can tune in some of these free channels. All TVs are different in their menus. This is a newer Fire TV from Amazon. But somewhere along the way, you either want to go to the settings gear like you're seeing in the top right-hand corner, or select the menu. And you're looking for, the first thing you want is inputs, right? So I'm on inputs here. And you want to go to the input that says cable and antenna. And then it prompts me, do you want to scan for channels? Some of the other TVs, you may have to go to a different menu setting to do that. I'm going to select yes here. And we're going to hit next to start scanning. And what the TV does is, again, I've got the rabbit ears connected in this case, right? We're going to do a test and it's going to search for digital channels and analog channels on my TV. And this could take a while, but probably no more than 5 or 10 minutes. So we'll fast forward the video. And you can see in the area where I am, it's up to 52 channels, digital channels. And we'll click done here. And here you go. This is what's on ABC right now. And again, you saw that was ABC. And again, these are high def, so your picture quality probably will be better than what you were receiving from cable before. And we'll just scan down one. And so this is NBC, and you can see I'm at 4.4. That's one of the sideband channels. And if I scan through, you can see I got 4.1. Local news is on 4.1, and it'll tune in. That's it. Now you have free TV. No cable, no dish. Probably saving you more than $1,000 a year. And oh, by the way, don't forget, call up your cable or satellite company and cancel your service if you're happy with what you see on your TV. You might also notice that in addition to the major channels, you actually have some sidebands. So you'll have, I don't know, TV 2.1, 2.2, 2.3. Those are all little separate channels with additional content on them. If you have an internet connection, you could also combine this process maybe with some streaming app. You're going to start cutting into that cost again. So I would avoid it. But again, sometimes there's additional free channels on like Roku or Google TV. You could sign up for a paid subscription to Apple TV if you like their content, or one of the other networks, probably for way less than the $100 you were paying before. So leave a comment. Tell me what you think. How are you enjoying your free TV? Again, subscribe. There's also a subscription link to my newsletter, and watch these other videos.